Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Matthew, and today I am joined by the one and only Neyah, as many of you will know. Hi Neyah, how are you doing at this moment?
Hi, I'm doing good, and thank you so much for having me on your channel.
You're very welcome. I thought today that we could get into kind of the topic of having manifestation as sort of a quick fix, or having it as a general something that you kind of keep in mind at all times to create a better life. So with that, I thought the first question I'd like to get into are, what are your thoughts on using any form of sort of spiritual law to manifest in one thing, or would you think it's better to be used as like an overall conscious creation tool?
Well, I mean, I think that you can do whatever you want as that states in the law because everything is a projection of your mind. But if I have to suggest something to people, I will always go for more than a manifestation and to overall changing their life because sometimes, for many reasons, first and foremost, if you just focus on only one manifestation, whether it is a specific person or money or their career, you can get overly obsessed. You might looking at the mirror constantly to see movement, and then at the end of the day you will want to improve other areas of your life unless other areas are already perfectly fine. But usually I will say that spirituality and the spiritual laws should be used to improve our sense of self first, so becoming better people and then manifesting all aspects of life. And once all those aspects are created, we can really turn to the greater goal and helping also other people, which I think it's also important, and it's part of the golden rule and the law in general. But that's just my take, obviously.
Yeah, no, it's a great answer. So leading on that, actually, you mentioned about like greater. Do you have a view on purpose-driven desires or like higher self desires and egoic desires? Do you believe that there's a purpose behind why we're here and using that into manifestation?
I absolutely I believe that. Now, there are so many trends, and everybody. I respect everything. Let's talk. Let's start with this. However, there are many trends right now, especially in the law assumption community, where we kind of forgot about spirituality altogether. We throw it out of the window, and we just simply said, "Oh, let's get the $1 million, the Ferrari, and all of this." Now, this is great. If you want to do that, absolutely do that because I think it's all part of a soul evolution. However, we have to also take spirituality into consideration and go a little bit beyond just the manifesting desire and understanding that we are spirit having a human experience. And so in the process of manifestation, I think everyone awakens to that point at some point, sorry my English, where you realize that yeah, of course I can manifest everything that I want, but why even if I manifest material things, I don't feel fulfilled, I don't feel happy, right? And that's probably because there is a higher call. There are higher dimensions of consciousness. And then we can open the conversation with so many beautiful things because once you are a master manifester, you want, and Dr. Joe Dispenza says the same thing, you want to go for the unknown. You want to go for like, what is my purpose? I want to talk with spirits. I want to talk with spirit guides, understand better who I am and how can I serve other people. So I definitely do feel that there is a distinction between an egoic desire and a more higher purpose, which doesn't mean though that I'm judging people that might come necessarily from the ego, because I don't think that is true either. I think it's just a matter of your personal journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a very similar philosophy with my channel, which is why I don't do many of these like get your thing within 3 days or kind of videos, because I believe that there should be more of a background work done first before you start trying to go hammering in affirmations for one single thing. So yeah, that
Yeah.
very much is in
Oh,
line
I
with
do.
me.
I did the video about the 3 days, but here it's probably because my way of thinking was the opposite. But we all got to the same point where I was like, okay, let me get as many people as possible who really have a desire to manifest quickly, and then in the process you are going to awaken so many people, because I am of the belief that when you get to manifestation, somehow some way your consciousness awakens, and it's very rare that you remain on a shallow depth of field in that sense. And also I wanted to add, if I have time, that Actually, there is a branch of quantum physics that is called cubism, and nobody knows this, or not a lot of people, but it's super interesting. And you can find some articles about it from Andrew Soltow. It's on Goodreads, by the way, if anyone wants to read it, where Andrew Soltow gives a different interpretation of quantum physics and how, according to him, our consciousness does create our own reality. But why? Because in actuality, he calls it avatar. There is this avatar, this higher self that lives on a higher dimensional plane that has access to all the multi levels of reality. So all the possible version of you, of me, of everything, sees the beginning of life and the end, and guides you through visualization that you get like in imagination automatically to the best path for you. And I think that if people that are watching want to get a little bit deeper into that, will be very, very interesting to understand that science is trying to discover that as well, that we are not just ego, but we are also spirit, and it's all connected, and I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, my entire like time growing up until I started all of this was very heavy science based. So I'm very glad when I hear all these kind of things, I see stuff where science is backing it. Because even though I obviously believe in the law and everything, when there's that like childhood part of me that was always a massive science fan being proven right, I'm like, yes, thank God. There's a little bit of evidence behind it. You mentioned not in that segment, but the segment before about obviously higher purpose, and sometimes you don't feel the fulfillment when you get an egoic desire. Have you ever, or is there a significant desire that you've managed to manifest in at some point in the past that you thought was going to be a fulfilling desire, but then once it came in, it was like, actually, this really isn't all that great?
Absolutely. I actually have a few. I probably want to mention two, because one covers career and the other covers specific people, so people can understand where I'm coming from and why we're saying what we're saying. So specifically about career, let's do it the money thing. So I wanted, and I did it, I think ego, but it was more for experimenting the law. So I started to affirm I am making more than 50K a month. I'm making more than 50K a month. And the reason that is because obviously we have online all this hustler kind of videos that they tell you you need to do a six-figure salary and you need to get the Louis Vuitton bag or the luxury thing, otherwise you're not successful. And I am no better than anyone. So I literally fall into that trap, or I need to make this amount of money to be happy and to have all this stuff. And I did. It manifested. But then I realized that, oh my God, I'm asking for something that I'm not even ready to have. So I got all this money, and then I had to pay so much taxes on it, which is, I know it doesn't sound like very popular to talk about, but it's something that I didn't confront myself with. And I was like, oh my God, this matrix is like absurd. I am making all of this money and half of it is going on taxes, which gave me so much anxiety for making more money. This is a thing. And then I started to shop all this luxury brand, gold, all the stuff that you see online. And then it was fun for a minute, because obviously you drive a posh car or you get a Cartier ring that is super expensive, and you got that trash and it's fun for a second. But then after a while, you go home, and after the excitement of the first day, you realize, but then what? I just bought an object, and if I have a car, yeah, I might have a fancy car, but isn't that taking me exactly like where my old car was taking me? Now, I'm not saying that you should live in poverty. I'm not trying to say this at all. But I'm saying it wasn't, as the happiness and the fulfillment was not generated because of the money. Money is great when you have to pay the rent, you want to be financially free, you want to have the time to do your passions and things like that. Absolutely. But it's not, the ending goal is not to live an influencer lifestyle, because that's where other people tell you that it's happiness. And that's something that I learned. And then for the specific person, I was again experimenting with the law, and I manifested a very attractive celebrity on my country. I manifested to say that from him to say the things that I wanted to say. And then I realized that we really didn't have any connection. Now, many people misinterpret every time I say this, because they're like, oh, can't you not manifest a connection? No, not really. Because you can manifest a person to tell you that they love you. You can manifest a person to be in the way, materialistically speaking, you want them to be, at least up to an extent, I guess. But if you're a really good manifester, you can really change them into be whatever you want, but the soul remains the same. So really, I couldn't feel that soul connection, even though I transformed this guy to be exactly what I wanted. And that's where I went to Florence Scovel book again. I read it again, and she mentions the divine match, and she's more spiritual in the way she portrays manifestation. And I took that path, and that got me so much more happiness and fulfillment. So, yeah, absolutely. That's my story, Alyssa.
Yeah, that's really interesting actually. I've never delved into the idea of like soul connections and stuff on my channel. I absolutely believe in like masculine, feminine energy and all that kind of stuff, but I've never gone into it. So maybe if people want me to go on my opinion on that in the future, they can obviously let me know. But you're definitely much more equipped on that than I am because I've never really even considered soul connections. So obviously, I'm assuming that your process is pretty much down to a T now. You know what you're doing like every single day. But do you ever find yourself slipping back into that egoic sort of desire standpoint on like occasion, or find yourself getting too obsessed with a specific desire? And if so, how do you rectify that? How do you sort of bring yourself out? Because I know a lot of people, even though they might be far in their journeys, they do sometimes, and myself, I have done it like on occasion. They have that one thing that they're just like, I really want this thing, and then they get too obsessed, and then bringing themselves back out is a little bit tricky. So how would you do it if you ever fall into that trap?
Well, what happens to me about the egoic desire, I think I don't have them as much, which by no means I'm saying that I'm enlightened or anything like that, but I've manifested so much for myself in terms of that egoic desire. Like I've been a singer and I manifested popularity in the music scene, in the metal scene, the YouTube thing, which took off really quickly. Everything like materialistically speaking that I wanted, I manifested. So not very much on that side, but what happens to me sometimes, I might still struggle with micromanaging my manifestation. So it's a little bit like obsession. So for instance, let's say that I want to take a trip, or I want a certain thing to happen in a certain way. Sometimes I get stuck. Instead of going directly to the end, I get a little bit agitated in the middle, and I'm like, oh, it has to be this way, and we have to take this plane, or going this way. And my boyfriend is like, calm down. Just go direct, because he believes in manifestation. He always tells me, calm down, go directly to the end, and know that it's done. So really what happens is that everybody can be caught in this, whether it is an egoic desire, whether it is obsession, whether it is really wanting to control the middle way of the manifestation, whatever it is. We all get in there and we get stuck once in a while. I think the best way to handle this, and what I do, is self-awareness. So it's to catch yourself, or to have even a partner or a friend, if you can, that really sees you from the outside, because I really think that friendship and relationship in general are our mirror, are our way to grow. So sometimes I have friends telling me, hey, what are you doing? You're not like this. And then boom, that awakened me. Sometimes when I'm alone, it's simply self-awareness, is seeing that my thoughts are spiraling, and be like, hey, I know better. And then I don't obsess too much with the thought. I just say, hey, I know better. But what if I don't read a little bit more about the law? What if I don't study a little bit more? Because maybe if I'm still getting obsessed or triggered about this thing, maybe I should improve. Maybe I should know more, which obviously helps me so much also for my channel. So I question myself. I bring always that level of of self-awareness.
Okay, yeah, no, it's very interesting. So just kind of like an extension of that is, one thing that I've said in the past is not to overconsume content when you're in a state of insecurity or doubt. So you would actually advise maybe to actually do that instead, as to learn more instead of...
I tell you what I mean, though, because you have a very good point. I know why you're saying probably what you're saying. I guess I intuitively know. Because let's say that you go on YouTube, okay, and you watch all this content about manifestation. YouTube is great. The problem, though, is that you have a way of teaching and coaching people that it might be different from what I'm saying. Even though we agree maybe on fundamental parts, but maybe we're saying something different. Then they go to another coach that is saying something slightly different. And that creates such a huge confusion. So I don't do that. I don't go on YouTube. But what I do, I take the books of those fundamental masters, which I think is slightly different. And I hope people don't get offended, like other YouTubers don't get offended when I say this. But honestly, when you read a chapter from Neville Goddard, or when you read a chapter from Lawofassumption, or Reality Transurfing of Vadim Zealand, whatever it is, or even a passage from the Bible, whatever could be your cup of tea, those are fundamental core knowledges of the law that are so universal and they speak to all of us, that getting back to those roots can actually help, because you cannot get confused when you're reading those books. When you read Joseph Murphy and he tells you about the power of the mind, of the subconscious mind, I guess every coach will agree with this. Plus, I also believe that when we read books instead of watching videos, we are, or maybe even hearing podcasts of these people, like the lectures of Neville, our brain wires differently, because we are taking, like, you read a book, you read some lines, and your brain sometimes go, and you reflect upon it, right? Every time you have this, your brain is creating new neural pathways of learning. So you're actually imprinting more the belief of the law within you, which eventually does help you manifest. So in this sense, I always say, take a book, take the book of Neville, whatever author, master author that you like, take it with you in your house and read a chapter from it once in a while when you get discouraged.
Yeah, great. Okay, so go back to the roots just to make sure that you're not getting any of the, because obviously we're all in a sense sort of branching off from all of these roots in our own sort of ways that we've evaluated it. So yeah, go back to the roots to make sure that you're getting the actual genuine root cause of the information instead of going from coach to coach. Makes sense. And yeah, I could agree with that.
And I think we do this as YouTubers. I'm sure that you do this, I do this. Every coach does that once in a while. And that's why we teach what we teach, because we always go back to that root. We don't just listen to everyone online. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, pointing a camera at us and teach this stuff, right? We teach from experience and we teach from that root, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's an amalgamation of the two. So yeah, I was originally going to ask this last question in a sense of seeing their current desire, but because you mentioned the soul connection earlier, I actually think I can tailor this last question to bring into that. So there are a lot of people who had come to me, and I'm sure you have come to you, that say that their specific person is kind of like the end all be all. This is the person that they want forever, and regardless of what happens, they want this person. So let's just say, as a theoretical situation, you had a person come to you and they weren't in what you would deem as the soul connected with this person, but they absolutely wanted them. What would you recommend they do? Would you recommend that they go for someone else instead that is more suited, or would you say that they should continue to persist in this person that may not? And obviously in this scenario, you know for a fact that they're not soul connected. Just
this is a very interesting question. Okay, it has multiple layers. So everyone alive and incarnated is a potential soulmate in that sense, because we all come from one consciousness. So it's very important that we drift away from the twin flame obsession, from the soulmate obsession, because you can turn anyone into a soulmate if you decide so, because we are already all connected. However, there could be instances where people are more compatible because maybe they had past lives together. It doesn't have to be like that they are going to be together forever, but it could be that they're simply more compatible. They have past life history. Some other people, they're just matched with each other and they have this extreme good chemistry and soul connection that might be generated in the spirit world. However, how do you find out? In my opinion, you don't find out by just simply saying, oh, get obsessed with that person, because many times they say, but how do you know you're soul connected? Because I had butterflies, because I felt this urge, I felt this connection. That doesn't mean anything. That really for the spirit world doesn't mean anything. It's very human based, it's emotionally based. And so the spirit doesn't have human emotion. My take is, go for the people who are compatible to you, who are showing you real, genuine love. And like the Buddhists say, if it's your soulmate, probably you won't get that much butterfly, but you will feel a sense of peace, serenity, accomplishment. Just generate true love in that sense. And if you want to be absolutely sure that that person is your divine match, I always say, go back to what Florence Scovel-Shinn said. Instead of saying my SP loves me or I'm manifesting this SP, just say, I want my divine match. Just state it. If you believe in the concept of twin flame and soulmate, that's a good belief. Like, I'm okay with everything, but state it to the universe, state it to your subconscious mind. I want to be with my divine match, but then be open to the fact that it might be someone else. If you want to take that route, if you are not ready for that route, then manifest a specific person. Know that you can turn anyone into a soulmate if you want to. Might be more difficult if the level of compatibilities are not very good. You might have to transform the dynamic of the relationship and the person altogether. You can if you want to. It's for me, it's a more difficult route if you want to do that, but at least if you want to take this route, do it with dropping the importance, not being obsessed, generating love from within, and always asking for a healthy relationship regardless of soulmate or not. So that's my take. For me, people can do whatever they want as long as they're conscious and self-aware of what they're asking and what they're doing.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I'm very I agree with a lot of that, actually, to be fair. So I'm very glad that you had that answer, just so we didn't have anything more to sort of go against each other on there.
Of course.
That's all of my questions. Is there anything that you kind of wanted to maybe present or ask or say or anything?
I just wanted to say that manifestation is not something, manifestation and spirituality in general, I think it's a lifestyle, and many people get this wrong, that I will watch a video and become a massive manifester. You can watch a video and just boom, get it all done in one day and manifesting everything you want. Still, if you get to that point, it will still be a life choice, because it doesn't matter how much self-realized or enlightened you are. Still, you will have to pay attention to thoughts. Still, you're growing as a person. Your desires can change, and just to remain open to the fact that you're not doing anything wrong. We are all learning. Nobody has the secret sauce, and at the end of the day, maybe when we will die, we will figure it out. Was I right? Was I wrong? Was my way the best way or the other? But just to remain open to the learning curve, respecting everyone's opinion and learning from everyone's opinion. Even like some people will say twin flame and soulmates are absolutely real, and some other people will be like, no, but everyone can be a soulmate. I just want to say everything is true. Chill. You don't need to learn everything at once. Just grow and know that no one is perfect and everyone is trying to figure this journey out.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. So everyone, thank you very much for watching. All of Neyah's stuff will be down below, so you can go check her out if any of you by any chance haven't seen of her before, which I'll be very surprised at considering the channel differences size-wise. But yeah, so thank you very much, Neyah, for doing this. I really appreciate you taking your time. And for everyone else...
Thank you so much, Mike.
Very welcome. And for everyone else, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.